I want to say in 2011 when I was at ABC Fox Alaska at the time, I'm guesstimating here, but I would say we probably had maybe 15 people in the newsroom. And right now I'm anchoring the news. We have 3 MMJs, and an MMJ is a multimedia journalist. And that's changed. When I started, you had a camera person and you had an editor, right? Now a multimedia journalist, they do it all. They do the interview, they do the writing, they film their own stand-ups, they do the editing, and they get it ready for air. And they turn a story every day. And we have 3. So we have me as the anchor, we have 3 MMJs, and then we have our weather person.
So there's 11 people missing.
From what it used to be. Everything's changed.
Welcome to the East Anchorage Book Club. I'm your host, Andrew Gray. The purpose of this podcast is to tell the stories of Alaskans of interest and importance. Today, we have your Alaska Link's evening news anchor, Trill Gates. Trill began her education as a broadcast journalist at Bartlett High School in the late 80s. While at Bartlett, she did an internship at the Fox News station on Tudor Road, where we can still find her today. Trill became famous in the early 90s as Kitty Fox on the Fox for Kids Club TV show. We talk about that experience and how unlikely it would be for that type of broadcast to thrive today. When her 4 kids were young, Trill left TV news and went to work as an elementary school teacher and later as a school librarian in the Anchorage School District. In 2022, she returned to ABC Fox to anchor their evening news. We talk about how TV news has evolved and where it's headed. We also discuss her recent trip to D.C. to interview Alaska's federal delegation in the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Trill Gates, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Tell us about your early life. Where did you grow up?
I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. And in 1976, my dad, who worked for the Department of the Interior, was transferred from Atlanta to Anchorage. So I have vivid memories in 1976 of getting loaded into the car with my sister and a cat and traveling by car with the CB radio. I wasn't always using it, but hearing my parents communicate on a CB radio because we had 2 cars, making that drive from Atlanta to Anchorage.
I assume you did it in the summer.
Yes, summer. We showed up in Anchorage, June 1976.
And did you start school that
I did in the fall, elementary school.
Oh, and where'd you go to school?
I went to Susitna optional school. I think it was the first year the optional program really took off at Susitna and in the Anchorage School District. And then I went to Windler Junior High. It was junior high back then. And then I'm a Bartlett Bear alumni, which I think you've talked to.
Wesley Early.
Wesley, yes.
Yes.
I ran into him the other day and he said, I went to school with your daughter. So he went to school with my oldest daughter.
I was surprised, just researching the interview, that you have adult children and you have a grandchild.
I do. I have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. And my oldest is 29, and she and her husband have a 2-year-old little boy named Henry. And so I am a grandma, but I go by Gigi.
Where is Henry?
He's very close by.
Oh, in Anchorage?
Yes, he's in Anchorage.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
So that's fun.
Yeah, I've been busy. It's been great, but all my kids are adulting now, which kind of brought me back into the television world. And we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. So Windler, Bartlett, and then did you go straight to college from high school?
I did.
And did you know you were going to be a journalist?
You know what? I went to, it was not called the King Career Center at the time, but when I was a junior in high school at Bartlett, I went to the Career Center and they had the radio and TV production class. And I knew my junior year in high school that I wanted to do broadcast news. I stuck with it. It just kind of gave me a taste of it. I really enjoyed it. I loved it. And then I went to college and I went away to school. I did a couple colleges. I was at Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas, of all places. And then I ended up at Washington State University. And then I wrapped up my degree at the University of Alaska, Anchorage in journalism.
And your mom was a teacher?
She was. You've done your homework.
What did she teach? Or where did she teach?
She was at Scenic Park Elementary School for many years. She also taught at Rabbit Creek. And she retired with the Anchorage School District.
And I guess I'm bouncing around, but why Kansas? Did you have family?
Well, family. Lots of family.
So your family is spread out in the lower 48. I guess your mom's and dad's sides of the family.
Missouri and Kansas. Yeah.
Okay. So you graduated from UAA in broadcast journalism eventually.
Yes.
And then went straight to work for?
So When I was 18, I remember my dad, it was either the Daily News or the Times. I don't know which one, because there were two newspapers back then. And they had the help wanted section. And he saw an ad for a radio DJ at KBYR Radio, which is in the heart of Spenard over here. It was owned by, I think it was Northern Television at the time, because Channel 11 was in that building in Spenard. It was like a trailer. And I interviewed for that job for a weekend DJ. Because once I graduated from high school, I did my first year at UAA. I wanted to work in the business. I wanted to work in the field, and I needed to get on the radio. So I got picked up for the weekends, and I was just, at that point, just playing music. And then it eventually kind of evolved into news on radio as well. But I did that before going away to school. The building that I'm in now on Tudor Road, which is where Your Alaska Link is, ABC Fox Alaska, I did get an internship my junior year in high school. So I worked there. So I think it's so funny because it's like I'm still in that
You're
building.
still there.
A lot of years later. But I did that. The other kind of thing I did is I got my master's degree at Alaska Pacific University. I got it in teaching. And so most of my career has been in broadcasting, but I did have a 12-year hiatus when my kids were little, and I was raising children. That I worked for the Anchorage School District as a teacher for 12 years total, but I also was a librarian. I got my librarian endorsement.
That's like a fantasy of mine.
Be a librarian?
Yes.
I know, it's so cool.
I was like, people are like, if you leave the legislature, are you going to go back to seeing patients? And I was like, I have a fantasy about becoming a librarian. And I do. I'm sure librarians deal with difficult people too.
And lately, being a librarian hasn't been easy the past so many years. I mean, not that any job is easy, but I was a children's librarian, which was lovely, and just really helping them fall in love with reading and learning to read and the importance of.
And you were with the ASD.
I was.
Like what schools were you at?
I was at Huffman Elementary School as a librarian.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that. But first, you did this radio job on Spenard, and then
have you heard? Do you know? Have you done your background? Do you know who Kitty Fox is?
Yes, that was her first job. That was the first real job.
I was working at KWEL at the time, and I was doing the news, but it was rip and read.
It was Fox for Kids Club.
Yeah, Fox for Kids Club. Yes, 1991. So the Fox affiliate here had decided they wanted to do this kids show. And so they had auditions, and it came over on a fax machine when I was working at the radio. And I was like, oh, I should probably audition for it. But then I want to do news, and I don't want to blow my whole credibility and being a kids show host. But I went anyway, and I auditioned for it, and I got the job along with Bob Lester, who played Kid Fox. And so I wasn't in a costume, but my name on TV was Kitty Fox. And it's Kiddie. That's important if you Google.
Right.
But it's like Fox 4 Kids Club. And so I helped write, produce, and was on this show. And we produced educational segments, about 6 minutes of educational programming in between the cartoon programming every day, Monday through Friday. And I did it for 11 years.
Wow. That reminds me, the way you spelled Kitty, Kiddie. Where did the name Trill come from?
Oh, my mom's name, her full name was Trillavie, so Trillave. It's French-Canadian. I don't have a fantastic story behind it, but I got Trill, and my middle name is Elise, Trill Elise.
So it was basically like just a play off of your mom's name.
Yes.
Got it. I'm sure you've had that question before.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yes. So that Fox 4 Kids Club job, the Kitty Fox gig, was pretty monumental in my early life. I was in my 20s.
And you were famous for it. Like, you walked around town and people knew that you were Kitty Fox.
I did not realize what I was getting into, because you have to go back to the 1990s. And there was this phone.
Didn't exist.
It was not the phone that we know today.
There was car phones.
Yeah, the Cartoon Network was not like it is today.
There was no streaming. People had to watch TV when it came on.
Yeah, the gaming was different. Everything was so different. So kids after school at 3:30
ran home to watch it.
They were stuck with me. I loved doing it while I was doing it. But now in my adult grown-up years, when I'm at like Kaladi Brothers or out today in this town,
People still recognize you for that.
People coming up and saying, "Oh my gosh, Kitty Fox, I watched you every day." And they tell me how I impacted their life in a positive way. And I knew it was good back then in the 90s. I just didn't realize how good it's just really
because
special.
no one can really repeat what you did because the platform and the monopoly that platform doesn't exist now.
Yeah, it's different.
It's different. My son is 12 and he watches YouTube.
Yeah.
He watches people on YouTube playing video games. It's very bizarre. I've talked to lots of other parents. They don't really understand it either. When his friends come over, they all want to sit and watch YouTube, watch other people playing video games. It's a very bizarre phenomenon. Just to say that kids today aren't watching Kitty Fox style 6-minute educational moments that improve their lives. I wish they were.
It was a really great experience for me. And it was something that I, again, didn't really think I wanted to do because I wanted to go into the news. And it just was positive. And even to this day, when people come up to me, they'll say, I'm sorry, you probably don't like it when people say something. And oh my gosh, no, I am so grateful. Thank you. And thank you for watching me all those years.
So it sounds like you realized it was a good thing. How did you decide to leave it?
I think I had just done it for 11 years and I was ready. I also, in my life, I was raising kids. I was ready.
So let's talk about that. Like, you got married while you were Kitty Fox and started having kids while you were still doing Kitty Fox.
Yes.
And I'm going to go out on a limb, and maybe you can correct me about this, because 6-minute segments Monday through Friday, that seems reasonable. That doesn't seem like a crazy work schedule.
Yeah, I think it was reasonable. I think we had a lot of personal appearances too on Wednesdays. It was Chuck E. Cheese night. And
So you were having to go out and do other stuff.
The first event that we did at Chuck E. Cheese, we were like hoping people would show up. It's okay, well, people come and want to meet Kid and Kitty Fox. Will these kids actually show up? Andrew, like the first night, 300 kids show up.
Cow.
And the next thing I know, they're asking for autographs, and then we're getting pictures taken. And I still even have some autograph tablets. I could probably wallpaper a bathroom with them because I still have them. Just because we would go on to these personal appearances and we would meet kids and talk with them and get our pictures taken with them and sign autographs. And so it was a thing, man. You weren't here. Were you here in the 90s?
I moved here in 98.
Yeah, okay.
So you were
there. Yeah,
but I was 23. And
you were not the target audience.
So did you write your segments?
Yes.
And how did you come up with the ideas? Because what I would think about is probably the first few weeks, it was probably pretty easy. But I would think as the years go by, 5 segments a week, how did you do it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. How did we do it? It's just living in the community, paying attention when you're driving to work. What are people talking about? Talking to Alaskans. When I think about it now, it's a lot like news. Every day we're pitching stories, trying to know what the community is talking about and what's important. It was the same way with the Fox 4 Kids Club in a lot of ways. And I'm sure there were days where it was like, what in the world are we going to talk about? But we had to figure it out because we had airtime to fill. I do think that there was one episode when I was rapping, and I wish I could redo that because I'm not a rapper. I should not have done that one. So there were some that might have gone the wrong direction.
Do you remember any particular segment that sticks with you forever?
I remember we traveled a lot throughout the state, and that was all going into the rural communities, and the Alaska Native villages was really powerful and a great opportunity. I remember we took the show to Washington, D.C. when Senator Ted Stevens was the chairman of the Appropriations Committee. And boy, we got special treatment there. And he was willing to talk to us and interview anything for Alaska kids, right? He's like, let's give them a warm welcome. I remember we talked to kids about goal setting, and I actually set the goal of running the Honolulu Marathon. And we followed me on my training, and we took the show to Honolulu and did the Honolulu Marathon.
Wow, that's really great motivation. It's like you can't back out.
No.
All of Alaska kids are watching you, and you have to show them that you're going to achieve the goal.
Yeah, and here's how you do it. So the Anchorage School District, through them, I did a lot of speaking. I have emceed spelling bees, geography bees. I've talked about the importance of reading and the importance of staying away from drugs, that kind of
Was your mom still teaching when you were doing this?
Yes. Yeah,
so
and she was really popular.
Yeah, I was going to say, as the mother of Kitty Fox.
Yeah, the mother of Kitty Fox. She was a really popular teacher. And then a funny story about my dad. because we lived in East Anchorage. And I think when I first started the show, I was still living at my house. I wasn't married. I wasn't living on my own. They just knew that the word was out, that's where Kitty Fox lived. And my dad was out mowing the lawn one day, and these kids come up to him and they're like, excuse me, sir, excuse me, does Kitty Fox live here? And my dad is like, well, I'm her gardener. I mean, he was like totally just playing into it. Oh, that's Kitty Fox's gardener.
That's so funny.
A kick out of that. But yeah, it was great.
And you had kids during this period.
I did.
All four of them?
Not all four. I think I had 3 of the 4 at that point when I was on the Fox Kids Club.
And I'm wondering if the oldest one made it into school while you were still Kitty Fox or no?
Oh, yes. Yes, she did. Yeah.
So I guess that's fun too, that she got to be like the daughter of Kitty Fox.
Yeah, I think they're all stuck with it. They know when they go out with me.
So their whole lives, you've been approached at tables and restaurants.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Did they have any resentment about that? Were they ever like,
you're gonna have to ask them. I think there was one time when I was at a Glacier Pilots baseball game when a guy said, will you sign the waistband of my underwear? And that was a little, I don't know about that. But I think that they've been good sports about it. It's probably wasn't always easy being the kid of Kitty Fox, but they've got to do a lot of fun things. And I think they've embraced it.
So you went from that to being an anchor.
Yeah, I have to really think of my timeline, because when my kids were younger, yes, I did. I was working in radio as well. Fox reached out to me and they asked if the local affiliate, I would come over and anchor their news. And
so Fox for Kids wasn't part. So this is where I'm like get so confused. So Fox for Kids Club, was on KTBY.
Yes,
and that's different than ABC Fox.
Yes and no. Okay, so I can tell why. I know why you're confused, because it is confusing. So Fox, KTBY, that's when I did the Fox Kids Club. Then when I wrapped up there, I went to radio. The owners, the Bradleys, who used to own KTBY, they sold the station. So new ownership came in. Coastal Television, it eventually became Coastal Television. I've been some owners in there. So Coastal Television came in and purchased KTBY. They also purchased, and it was all FCC approved and all this stuff, but they purchased Channel 13.
It's like a mind-blowing thing for somebody from the lower 48. Yes. It's like, how are ABC and Fox the same news?
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
So,
but all that. So when the new ownership came in with KTBY, I was working on the radio. They reached out to me and said, would you come back? Would you consider coming to Fox and anchor our news? They were going to start at 9:00 news. And I said, okay, I'll do that. I was working for K-Bear Radio at the time. It was a really strong morning show with Jim Robbins and Matt Valley. Matt Valley, also a Bartlett High graduate, another broadcaster, Alaska broadcaster who went to Bartlett. So I decided to leave, and I moved back over to KTBY, and I did news there. Now, while I was doing news there, that's when the ABC deal came on. So then it became ABC and Fox. And so I did that as the interim news director. I was there for a couple of years, and news is hard. The schedule is difficult.
I was thinking, and so you had 4 kids then. Right.
And so that's why I was like, it is time for me to get a better schedule for my kids.
Because it's all like a late night schedule.
Yeah. And so then that's when I decided to use my master's degree, and I went into teaching and became a librarian.
You did that in 2011?
I did.
Okay.
I taught for 12 years, 6 teaching, 6 librarian.
6 librarian.
Yeah. 6.
And you left in 2022 to go back to TV News.
That's it right there. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And by 2022, your kids were graduated?
Most of them were. Most of them were. Yeah, my youngest right now is a sophomore in college. He was a senior in high school at the time. So I was happy in my library. I was really happy being a librarian. Loved it. I remember I was on the beach in Hawaii, and I got a call, connected with Coastal Television, the owner, and he said, hey, would you consider coming back to TV? And my first response was, I'm really happy in my little library. I'm good where I am. But I was going through a lot of changes in my life. I was going through a divorce, and I thought, well, changing everything, changing husbands, changing my house, changing all. Maybe I should change my career again. I've always loved broadcasting. I think it's really important. I think it's critical in the community. And while I loved being a librarian, I was looking maybe for a little more adult interaction as well. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to take the leap and hopefully the net will appear. And that's why I decided to go back. And it's been a great move for me. I'm having a good time.
There's no question that being a teacher is important. There's no question that being a school librarian is important. Can you explain why being a broadcast journalist is important?
Oh, well, see, I prepped. I have my notes now too, because I think local journalism is just so important. I think that people see local journalists as part of their community. We're boots on the ground. We share Alaskan stories. I think that we ask questions. It helps with accountability. I think it's useful. I wrote down, I was like, oh, I'm going to tell them what our lineup, our show, how our show is stacked today. So we talked about which people mover routes aren't running today. Useful information. We talked about Project Homeless Connect that was going down at the Egan Center. We talked about Bruce's Law today, the legislation to help stop fentanyl deaths. It's
practical matters that people at home would be interested in because it's useful to them today.
Yes. That's why I think we're so important.
I'm going to make a confession, and it's not something that I'm proud of. And I don't know if it's because it's my age or my generation. I'm not local TV news. I listen to radio. I do tons of podcasts.
Yeah.
I will watch Hulu. Like I'll stream national news.
Yeah.
And I read the ADN and I read print news. I don't do TV. And I think that for me makes it something that's not on my radar. But it has been told to me again and again that TV news is where most Alaskans get their news, and that I'm the exception.
Yeah.
They're more likely to have seen your morning lineup than to have seen what the new stories are that were released in the ADN this morning.
I don't know the statistics behind that. Obviously, here's the thing. People consume news differently today than they did, 20 years ago. Everything's changed. There's so many different platforms. You have so many different choices. So we recognize that. And TV news is one thing, but we also have our website. We also are now doing reels
on social media.
We're having to adapt. We're just trying to meet our stakeholders where they are. But our content, I think when you ask me about why is it important, I think we're always just looking for what's helpful to viewers, road closures, issues, like coming to Juneau and talking to you about, I think I was there talking to you about the signage. The signage there's the sign right there.
It is the sign that we did that says that alcohol use can cause cancer, including breast and colon cancers, which is now required in all places that sell alcohol. And I have to say, my little moment is that I've been traveling a lot around the state the past couple of months, and it's so exciting for me when I see it in Kodiak, in the Kodiak airport. And I appreciated you coming to Juneau and talking to me about that for sure. Yeah. When I was getting prepped by somebody who worked in TV news, they said a good question to ask is why you went back to ABC Fox, because I wouldn't know this, but for folks who work in TV news, they said that Alaska's news source probably is better funded. And then I immediately started answering for you. And I was like, Trill Gates might have gotten a pretty good deal, and she might be well funded because you just went to DC. They sent you to DC and you did these interviews in DC. But I don't know, is it loyalty? Did you get a good contract? They were coming out of a scandal, even though it was a few years later. The Maria Athens scandal, they needed to recover. And you were a great way to recover, to go back to somebody that people had very positive, warm feelings about, to restore trust in their network. Yeah. Is it all of the above? Like, why did you decide to go back to ABC Fox?
Oh, boy. You've done your homework. And I know that I wasn't looking. They reached out to me. And because of the timing and where I was in my life, I was like, maybe I should go back. And I probably could be a positive impact and help. But I think you're right. I think I was probably a good choice for them after everything they had been through.
And I think this is something that's important. Something for me, having done this whole media series, talking about the amazing benefit that it was when the Anchorage Times and Anchorage Daily News were competing with each other, and how good that was for Alaskans. And the danger, we had basically 3 local stations. We now have 2.
Yep.
CBS is no longer there.
And so there's a real risk of going to one local TV news. That's not in the best interest of Alaskans. It's good to have multiple entities reporting and doing their own thing and checking each other and competing with each other. So really, this person saying, I don't know why she wouldn't have gone to Channel 2. She probably could have gotten a better deal there, and they're better funded and better respected. But that might not have been in the best interest of Alaskans' media market. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I know what you're saying, and I agree with you completely as far as competition is a good thing. Now, I'll listen, Channel 2, Alaska News Source is great. They have a robust newsroom. They have a lot of resources. I feel like we are the little engine that could. I feel like we have a lot of heart. Every day when I look at what we do with the resources that we have, I think we are doing a really great job. But I think giving Alaskans two different choices.
Which is double the
It's not
choices that they'd have if there was only one.
I think it's a good thing.
You had this big experience from basically 1991 to 2011, so 20 years of experience. And then you took this big break working in public education. Was going back what you expected it to be? And what's been different?
It's such a great question because going back, I recognized that I had been 12 years out of the game. Not that it's a game, but 12 years out of that profession. And so it was a lot to go back because it's a different pace, just networking in general, getting back in there, making those connections. So at first it was intimidating, but it's after you've been out of something for 12 years, going back in, I recognize that everybody else had continued all their work, but it's been really great. I've learned a lot. I think I've contributed well to the work that I'm doing. I think it's just been exciting. It's never dull. So I think it was a good move for me personally and professionally.
Do you remember the first story that you did after the 12-year hiatus?
Oh, I don't remember.
I just imagine that those first couple of days back on the job was probably stressful.
I will tell you this. So it was the special election. It was the Mary Peltola race where there were like, I'm not going to get my
50,
numbers right.
Yeah, 50 candidates.
Yeah, and I think Santa Claus was one of them. And I remember I needed to get an interview with her because I know she was in the state legislature, but she also had
a big
hiatus as well. And I didn't know her. I did not know her. And I remember there was some stuff that happened to where all of a sudden she was number 4 and it was the ranked choice.
Yes.
And so I'm like, I got to get a hold of Mary Peltola and I've got to interview her. And I do remember that because then I followed her through that whole campaign, through the special election. And then I went to Washington, D.C. when she was sworn in as the first Alaska Native in U.S. Congress.
So that was really like the first thing you were doing, which is fun because there was those parallels between the two of you's own story. Have y'all talked about that?
Yeah, and actually we got a picture because I remember interviewing her because I said, I'm just getting back into this gig and I'm going to interview you. And this is all new to me too. You're my first interview doing this. And so, yes, that was a good moment that was a good moment. Yeah.
So you just returned from DC.
I did. Yeah. I spent a week in DC covering our Alaska delegation and it was nonstop. It was an interesting time to be on Capitol Hill. It was right after the Charlie Kirk assassination. You could feel Capitol Hill is nonstop anyway, but you could just feel this tense energy and somberness. My first interview was with Representative Nick Begich. He's another political candidate that I have followed. I've followed a lot of his campaigns where he lost, but then that was an exciting interview because it's like, wow, you're here in this office and you won. And so that was a good moment to be able to interview him and the work that he's doing for Alaskans in Congress. And then I got a lot of time. I was surprised I got a lot of time with Senator Sullivan.
I would say for those of us who go to DC and have scheduled meetings with the delegation, I think Senator Sullivan takes pride in spending longer with people than anybody else.
Okay.
Like, that's
feel
his
that?
thing.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Felt that. I was like, oh, so are you saying I'm not special?
Well, and he's done a lot of time with me.
And he did with me. And I went to a committee meeting, one of the committee meetings, and I went with him. And it was It's nice because when you're putting a piece together, just that having B-roll, which, we've interviewed you, and if we need some B-roll, we need you like working.
Yes.
We need,
Answer the phone.
Yeah. Do your thing so we can get some B-roll. And so that was really great to have those opportunities. Also, I had never been in a committee meeting. I had never done that before.
It's really interesting. It's very different than Juneau. In Juneau, all the committee members sit there for the whole time.
Yeah.
And in DC,
they're
it's
up
like,
and people
it's
are
like there's
come
one
in,
person
coming
at the
out.
table.
Yeah.
They come in, they do their minutes, they stand up, they leave.
I know.
It's crazy.
It is. I had never experienced
And
that.
I've talked about that with Mary Patola, and she said that she used to always try and stay for the whole meeting because you would have people who would leave and then somebody else would come in and ask the same questions.
Exactly.
She never wanted to be the person who was like embarrassingly asking the questions that were just asked.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a staff's responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. But yeah, it's very weird.
I had that opportunity to experience that. And the following day, I saw Senator Murkowski and her schedule. I mean, their schedules are all tight there.
Yeah.
I think no matter whatever delegation, there's a lot of work that's happening. It just moves so fast. But her schedule is really tight. But I did get a sit-down interview with her in her office. And at that time, she had just done the committee. She had just had conversations about our health secretary, RFK, and the career scientists that were being let go. And so that was an interesting conversation with her because she voted to confirm him. And her take, she's not.
Well, and I'll quote social media.
Yes.
But a lot of the types of posts that you see are, why are you surprised? These were the concerns that were expressed to you before you voted to confirm him. And now he's been confirmed. And now he's doing the things that everyone was super concerned about.
Yeah.
And why are you surprised?
Why are you surprised? And what can be done about it now? Yeah. So it's always really interesting when I go to interview our Alaska delegation. Obviously, it takes a lot of preparation. And I feel like sometimes because we're such a small newsroom, we don't have particular beats that we work on. And the benefit of having a beat is
you become an expert, a subject matter expert.
Exactly. If you're in the education beat, education.
When you don't have a beat, it's like you feel like you're new all the time.
And we just don't have a newsroom big enough we have to know a little bit about everything, which means we really don't sometimes.
Have you read Lisa Murkowski's book?
I haven't read it yet. Have you?
No.
I haven't read it.
I was just curious.
I'm a big reader.
Yeah.
Because the name of your podcast.
Oh, did you bring a book to recommend?
I just brought a book that I was currently reading. I thought you might ask me that.
I will.
But
we're not there yet.
But the whole experience of going, it's great.
What committee meeting did you go to with Sullivan?
I have to look it up. So it was the Environment and Public Works Committee.
Okay, was it that memorable?
It was it was memorable because we were talking about the Mendenhall Valley,
the flooding.
Glacial flooding. This was really interesting because he was talking about the continuing glacial outburst flooding at Mendenhall Valley in Juneau, and the Corps of Engineers was there at the committee. And basically, Sullivan was just talking about the short-term fix, the medium fix, the long-term fix that they're working on.
Short-term fix this year worked.
I know. And, I was when I came to see, I think when I saw you in June, I was there in January and in April. I went to go see the HESCO barriers installed. I did a story on it. And so I was with the engineers out there watching how it was done. So to actually see it in April, and then when the flooding happened in August, to see the video and to see it work, and it really did. It did work.
It's very impressive. I don't know if you talked to Senator Sullivan about it all. Did you talk about the potential of reopening ADAC or any of the military
stuff? We did not talk to him about that.
Okay, because I'm the chair of the Joint Armed Services Committee right now, and that is something that is on people's mind.
I did not, but that's the other thing that's a challenge when you go.
It's like figuring out what
it's like I only have so much time, and there is never-ending topics. So it's what are Alaskans talking about? I should have called you.
So going back to Representative Begich, he called to lower the temperature, like he did, talking about the Charlie Kirk.
In fact, we talked about that.
What's interesting about that is that he seems to be so incredibly in lockstep with a president who is not good at calling for a lower temperature in the room. Even at the funeral on Sunday, was not good at calling for a lower temperature. And I don't know. I don't think it's not your approach to challenge them, but did you talk about that?
It should be. I think that that's a job as a journalist or a reporter. I'm trying to think because I have to go back to that interview. That was before the Charlie Kirk funeral. I remember, right? It was before that. So
you couldn't really comment on the president.
Had not made his comments, but he is very lockstep with the president. And it's interesting because of our Alaska delegation, Senator Murkowski has been the only one who's ever really said anything
critical.
Yeah, ever. It's interesting.
We're bringing up some of the frustrations as a reporter, and particularly a reporter in 2025, meeting with the federal delegation, getting the scheduled interview to happen.
Yes.
And how hard do you push, cognizant of the fact that in today's day and age, if you're too hard, you may not ever get an interview with them again.
Exactly. That's a really good point, because that is really relevant. It's really relevant because access is important.
And it seems like today there's a move to make some reporters have no access at all.
I think I was just reading an article that what came out of it was from Hegseth, right? The limiting the Pentagon reporting that's being done in the Pentagon. Are there the steps for approval to even be able to get in there? It's changing.
Hey, that kind of brings us to 2025 and working in the news. And I guess, do you have any general comments? And you have 34 years of experience, so you've seen...
Give or take. I was a librarian and a teacher in there.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to local media and state media. I think local media, let me look at my statistics here because there were some holes. Local media is still the most trusted media.
I believe you.
I was going to say,
I totally believe you.
Do you believe that?
I definitely believe you.
Yeah. Gallup, Pew Research Center. Americans generally trust local news more than national outlets. And they see their local journalists as part of their community, more accountable and closer to the issues that directly affect them. And I guess if there's one thing I'd leave your listeners with, I think Alaska deserves the journalism that matches its size and complexity. And it's hard because we are such a big state. And we haven't even talked about rural Alaska.
I was going to say, you've done work in rural, and you talked about doing sort of a tour as Kitty Fox to rural Alaska. But I also know that you did remote reporting from Ukqiavik. You've specifically done special assignments throughout Alaska. When we talk about local news in Alaska, we're talking about the whole state. And it's just crazy that how big our quote unquote local market is.
And the cost, right, of getting reporters to places. Our state is so unique. It costs a lot to get people to get where the stories are.
It costs more to get you to certain places in Alaska than it would to get you to the lower 48.
But those voices are so important. We don't want like a newsroom desert. And just with the situation that's going on with the public
radio.
With public radio and radio in some parts of our state, that is just like the lifeline for
because that's where there's reporting happening. And it's something that Wesley Early talked about was that if that goes away, then the only news stories that'll be coming out will be what the troopers report, because that's something that journalists in Anchorage can see.
He's very right. That's true.
In your 3 years back, have you traveled into rural Alaska?
I have. But people who are embedded, who are like the Nome Nugget, the local newspapers, the people who are living in those communities, they have their finger on the pulse. They know what's going on there. So just to finish my thought earlier, it's that whether it's the little local paper or the public radio, we need strong local voices telling Alaska's stories, because if we're not doing it.
Obviously, public radio is not safe at this moment, but do you feel like what we have going in TV news with the two stations is sustainable? Do you have concerns?
I think that the landscape is changing. It's changing so much. So I guess I probably would say I have some concern, but I think we're relevant and important, but we're having to prove it every day, right? I think local news is relevant and important, and we have to figure out a way to adapt to the changes, the landscape changing of how people consume their news.
I think it's come up in talking about radio and talking about print in Alaska, we don't have the same revenue streams that we used to have. Are local news stations able to charge enough through advertising to support themselves in the way that they could 30 years ago? And I
That's
don't
a good
know.
question. And I know sales obviously is a very important department at a TV station, at a local TV station. Since I'm not working in that department, I do not know but I would think that
It can't be the same that it was 30 years ago.
It can't be. It just can't be.
And is your team smaller? That's something that we talked about when I interviewed Larry Pursley. He talked about 16 reporters at the Juneau Empire in the late 80s.
And what are they now?
According to James Brooks, 0. So it was something like 16 in the late 80s. And then in 2012, it was down to 8. And then it was down to 2. And then down to 0.
So I want to say in 2011, when I was at ABC Fox Alaska at the time, I'm guesstimating here, but I would say we probably had maybe 15 people in the newsroom at the time. And that includes sports and weather. And right now I'm anchoring the news. We have 3 MMJs, and an MMJ is a multimedia journalist. And that's changed over when I was in journalism school. When I started, you had a camera person, a photographer, and you had an editor, right? Now a multimedia journalist, they do it all. So we have 3 multimedia journalists.
Who basically have to
turn a story every day. They go out, they interview, they do the interview, they do the writing, they do their stand-ups, they film their own stand-ups, they do the editing, and they get it ready for air.
Wow.
And they turn a story every day. And we have 3. So we have me as the anchor, we have 3 MMJs, and then we have our weather person. So
there's 11 people missing.
From what it used to be. So it is a changing landscape, that's for sure.
But in the defense of that new model, I'm able to edit my own podcast, and I'm not very technically savvy, but it's just that technology has developed to a point where when I first started my podcast, I had a sound engineer who did all of that for me. And then ultimately it was more efficient and cheaper for me to do it myself. And so I did. Yeah. So I could see how it's probably easier to film and edit now than it was 15 years ago.
And the equipment certainly has gotten smaller. The technology has certainly gotten smaller. I remember when I had to carry like the 3/4-inch deck because we were filming on 3/4-inch tapes. And now it's little. Everything's small and compact. And our MMJs do a great job. But that type of job isn't for everybody. It is a high pressure job because of your deadlines. Also, accurate. You got to get it right. And every day they're working on a story. It's different every day.
So I think what I'm hearing is that your hope for the future is that maybe you could hire a few more folks.
Yeah, this would be a good time for me to say we're looking for some journalists, some budding journalists, people who are interested in becoming multimedia journalists. We are adding to our team, and we'd love to have you.
Trill Gates, thanks so much for being here. Do you have a book to recommend?
I brought the book that I'm reading right now. Have you ever gone through phases of your books?
100%.
Have you done self-help?
I have. I did. You know what's funny is when you become a legislator, you have staff. And for me, I'd never really been a boss before.
Yeah.
And so I did read a couple of self-help books last year about how to be a boss.
Okay.
And you know what? They helped me a lot. Anyway.
I was in my fiction phase and because I had to get away from some self-help, but I just brought on a new self-help book that I'm really enjoying. It's called The Opposite of Settling by Case Kenny. How to get everything you want out of love and life without losing your spark.
Wow. You have put a lot of little tabs all over it. I guess having put that many tabs on it, like what's a couple pieces of advice for how to get the most out of life and love?
Settling for half-hearted love is out. Being with someone who treats you like they won the lottery is in.
That's huge. So are you currently single? Am I allowed to ask that?
And listen, the best relationship is where you're a 2-person circus of laughter, loyalty, and empire building.
I feel like I'm suspicious.
Of this already?
Yeah, I'm suspicious already just because as somebody who's been in a marriage for 13 years, it's not what was the quote again?
Oh, well, I don't know. I have to find it.
Something
I really like
like fun and excitement and empire building. I was like, it's not like that.
Well, no,
all the time.
he also talks about your happiness is an inside job.
That's true. Okay, that's true. And
Absolutely,
I will say that I think that the biggest problems I think with relationships are sometimes is when one person depends on the other person for their happiness.
Exactly.
That does not end well.
No, it does not. I've been there, done that.
People are responsible for their own happiness.
That's why I'm reading Case Kenny's book here.
Okay, Case Kenny, The Opposite of Settling.
Yes.
People will check it out. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and review us. To contact me, email rep.andrew.gray@aklive.gov or call 907-269-0123.